like to give just a small introduction. ITGA's tasks, when it was formed, were mainly of information to its members about market trends and what was happening in the different countries. If you will remember, the 6 founder countries were at that time the biggest exporters of tobacco, as they still are. One of them not, Canada went away. They're coming back with production now. For some time they didn't have almost any production. Now they have already some 20,000, 25,000 tons again. But the other countries, which were Brazil, Argentina, Malawi, Zimbabwe, USA, they were the biggest exporters. India was not yet in the radar at that time. So the main issues with our association had to do with the market conditions. And unhappily for us, and for me particularly, when I got this job, immediately after the World Health Organization staged their first international treaty, which happened to be on consumption control of tobacco, and the market trends became secondary to the regulation of our market. This to say that regulation affects us more and more every day. WHO used to have their main attention to consumption, but they had put in the treaty from the beginning, they had put articles that would deal with production too. And we knew from the beginning that this would be the way for WHO to come after. And now with Article 17 and 18, which were, like, I like to remember this, Article 17 was created because the Brazilian growers were very much afraid of the wording from the treaty on the quest for alternatives to tobacco. And as they didn't want the government of Brazil to ratify the convention, they put a lot of pressure on the government, and the Brazilian government said, okay, we will arrange a paragraph to help you if demand for tobacco goes down. Then WHO will help you to find alternatives for your production. So the idea was to help growers to find alternatives if demand came down. Demand came down. WHO never did anything on this quest for alternatives of tobacco growing. We know that most of them are very complicated or even impossible. We have here in the room an expert on that because he's done it, as long as I know, better than anyone else, who is George Nestor in Misiones. They have a huge program of alternatives to tobacco crop, which was highly successful but required an enormous investment, which most of the associations and the growers do not have. But that was the main reason why Article 17 became a concern for us. Because now WHO has turned the whole thing upside down. And they want, through Article 17, they want to rein in production. They want it to decrease. And they want, through Article 18, which is the environmental impact of tobacco, they want to attack tobacco, saying that's the nastiest crop on the fields, which is not true. Of course, they do this not comparing tobacco with any other crop that should be the alternative. They didn't find alternatives. They didn't propose any, but on top of that, they don't compare what would be the effect of replacing tobacco with other crops on the environmental impact going up recently. This to say that we have a picture where the normal market trends and conditions are more and more intertwined with the regulation that affects us every day. This year is a special or especially difficult year because, as I said, this year WHO wants to discuss precisely Article 17 and 18. So they're going to discuss things that have to do with the way we produce tobacco and our tobacco production or control. As a matter of fact, I should go a little backwards. The growers today are the only line of defense of the tobacco sector. The tobacco sector is under its most aggressive attack in its history. Don't misunderstand me. The WHO wants to finish with the tobacco sector. The anti-tobacco lobby wants to close everything related to tobacco. But we have a much more concrete danger, which is Article 17. We will talk about this around here in a minute, but very, very quickly, the process goes through a working group which has integrated a set of countries, most of them not producing any tobacco, so almost nothing. I must remind you that the people in those delegations, in 416 delegates in Uruguay, 408 delegates in Uruguay, 16 were from ministries of agriculture, and 6 were from Brazil's Ministry of Agriculture. So 99% of the delegates in the meeting know nothing about agriculture, and they're deciding on agriculture, and they're deciding on tobacco production. So this is a very dangerous situation, and we don't know how far they will go. We know they will try a lot. They're putting a lot of measures. These working groups circulate documents among the members that then are discussed. They're more or less amended, usually much less than we would like. And then at the end of this month, precisely these days, the document should be circulated among all the 178 countries that have ratified the FCTC. And that document from September on is public and goes to discussion in Korea, is discussed and voted. We know from past experience that the document that is turned public in September, or more or less the document that is circulated right at the end of this month, will suffer very, very little changes. There is still a month until the 25th of June in which we can do our governments can do some amendments to the document, but at the end of that, it's fixed. It's the final document, and that's it. And we know that very little will be changed in the discussions in Korea. We hope that this time the WHO will have more opposition, because the first time they had a significant opposition was 2 years ago in Uruguay, and they were quite surprised. On the other hand, I know that they will try, they're already doing it, they will try their best to make sure that, for instance, Julius and Knox will not be in the delegation of Zambia and Tanzania, but the other way around. They will do their best to make sure that the African countries do not express strong opposition to anything. They will have difficulties with China and Japan because that's a much different picture. But they will try the best they can to avoid what they had in Uruguay, which was, for the first time, a very big number of countries questioning first the proposals, and second, the way they were put to discussion. On our side, we will do the best we can to protect ourselves. There is one clear thing: if we don't, I've said this many times, if we don't defend ourselves, nobody will do. And as I said too, you know, the tobacco sector is mainly integrated by growers, processors, and manufacturers. The growers have a voice. The processors, a very little one. Manufacturers don't have a voice today in anything related with tobacco. Interference. As a matter of fact, they're trying to accuse us of being interfering with their decisions. We say we have to interfere with their decisions, obviously. We have all the right to interfere with their decisions. They're deciding on our future, on the future of our children, so we have to tell them, you don't know what you're talking about, we have to interfere. And that's mainly what I've been trying to prepare for ITGA's action this year, as we will have a very strong fight, an uphill battle. So we prepared an action plan that has to do with the dimension of the threat. This is probably the biggest threat we had until now from WHO. We will see, we will go for the